Happy Friday, everybody, and happy holidays to you. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Barrett Brooks, along with Rob Ellis. Real happy to have our next guest on. He does an amazing job, and he has done for a very long time covering the Cowboys. He is the Cowboys ESPN NFL Nation reporter. He's been covering the Cowboys since 1997. He joined us a little bit earlier this season. Todd Archer. Todd, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Happy holidays to you.
You too, guys. Glad to be back. I'm the Tim McManus of the Cowboys. Is how I look at it.
That's high praise right there, man. If that's the case, that's strong
definitely
duo,
high praise. You are that guy. If you're that hot, yo.
Yeah, we love Tim, man. That's awesome, Todd. So a couple things. Let's start with the injury report, because I know there's first off, Micah Parsons is questionable. I know that Sam Williams got into a car accident as well. What can you tell us about what's going on health wise for the Cowboys?
Yeah, Leighton Vander Esch, they're one of their leading tacklers. He's ruled out of the game from an injury suffered last week against Jacksonville. They expect Micah Parsons to play. Had an illness, missed 2 days. Trayvon Diggs popped up on the injury report with an illness. They expect him to play. Sam Williams is a little more up in the air because of the car accident he was in on Thursday. They want to see how he gets through today's practice that they have before they make a determination. Jerry Jones was on the local radio here saying it's more of a concussion deal. So, kind of up in the air. And if he can't go, I wonder if they bring up a guy like Tack McKinley from the practice squad to kind of fill that role, to add another pass rusher, a good guy to set the point of attack on the edge. He could be an option if Sam Williams can't play.
Okay. What about Dorrance Armstrong? Is he up?
They expect, he was limited in practice as well with a knee injury, but they expect him to go as well. And obviously a key piece for this defense, second on the team in sacks with 8.
Yep.
And a guy that has, I think he surpassed his career total in sacks this season alone. So if they had signed Randy Gregory like they had planned to, Dorrance Armstrong wouldn't be a Cowboy. I don't know if Randy Gregory has a sack yet this year in Denver because of an injury deal, but Dorrance Armstrong really paid off for the Cowboys. Actually, Dorrance Armstrong probably might have been an Eagle if he didn't stay with the Cowboys after Randy Gregory left.
No kidding. It's funny how stuff works out, isn't it, man? Jeez, there's a lot of regret in Denver, I think. I think in general, but that's a whole nother discussion. Todd, so a couple other things to dig in. I'm always curious to get the pulse of what's happening in the other city. We're so caught up in our own fishbowl here, in Philadelphia, and we'll get into Minshew and all that stuff in a second. But coming off a tough loss to the Jags, certainly, it's going to be tough, but the Cowboys would like to get out of that 5 hole that they're in from a seeding standpoint. What's the confidence level, team and sort of city in your estimation?
Well, team and city is probably different, right? Because I think city is more like they've seen this show before, a team that has made the playoffs, but they're not going to do anything. That's the feeling when you're coming off needing a 98-yard drive to beat the Texans, and then you lose a 17-point lead at Jacksonville. Never mind that Jacksonville might be a playoff team in itself.
They're going to, I think,
way they're going right now. And Houston took Kansas City to overtime last week. So I think there's a prove-it-to-me factor with the city and the Cowboys fans because, again, they've seen this so many times. As far as the team, they do have confidence. You wouldn't expect anything other, right? They believe that they can be a factor and win this game. It would be their 3rd win against a team with double-digit victories this season, Cincinnati and Minnesota. And whether Hurts is playing or not, it would still mean something because if these teams meet in the playoffs in whatever round, they can point to the fact that they have beaten them. If they get swept by them with a backup quarterback, I don't know how you go into that potential playoff matchup feeling very confident that you can do something that you didn't do the first 2 times.
Does this team still hear McCarthy's message? Is he still the guy? Is he still, somebody they're looking up to, or is it, for like outside of Dallas, we're thinking that Sean is going to be the next, head coach come up here pretty soon.
Yeah, no, they're still buying in on Mike, and it's funny, the Sean Payton thing was big at the start of the season, just because. But I don't think Sean Payton, if they were to move on, if Jerry Jones were to move on from Mike McCarthy, I don't think Sean Payton would be the coach. I think it would be Dan Quinn or somebody that we're not even talking about. So,
right.
But again, I don't think Mike McCarthy's going anywhere. Here's a guy that's won 22 games in the last 2 years. The first guy to take them to back-to-back playoff appearances since 1998-99 with the same coach, Chan Gailey. Now, I guess I should say Chan Gailey was fired after that second consecutive playoff appearance. So with Jerry, you never rule anything out. But no, they're buying what Mike is selling. And, I talked to Zach Martin in the locker room about that this week, and he's like, look, here's a guy that's won a Super Bowl. He's been in an NFC title game. He's had this success. You have no choice but to believe in what he says. So they're buying what he's saying.
Todd, I'm curious about Dak Prescott. I mean, you look at his numbers, his general numbers, and, strong considering he only played 9 games, over 2,000 yards, the 17 touchdowns. But there's been a penchant of late to turn the ball over. Certainly, I'm not laying that one in Jacksonville, the last one on him. I thought that should have been caught personally, but the numbers are up. Is there anything? Is it just been sort of like fluky stuff, or are you seeing some bad trends there?
A lot of it is tip balls and bad luck. I don't even want to say a lot because that means you're just excusing everything. But some have been tip balls and bad luck, like you mentioned, the pick 6 against the Jaguars at the end of the game. Some of it is decision making too, right? I mean, I can think of a couple throws in the end zone against Green Bay, first quarter. It's a cloudy situation in coverage. Man, just throw it in the stands, kick your field goal, go up 10-0. You don't know how that game's going to go. Chicago, they have an end of half chance to drive the field. He looks for the shot play on first down, picked off. Chicago scores, makes it a closer game than it needed to be for a longer period of time. Indianapolis, a pick outside where Stephon Gilmore has outside leverage on Michael Gallup. Gallup slips and falls, but he never should have thrown that ball anyway. So some of it is luck, some of it is decision-making, but it's interesting that Dak has said, look, I'm not going to change. I'm going to be aggressive, believe in my guys, and play how I play. In the first, 6 years of Dak's career, he's not had this issue. He's been a guy that is protected the ball, not had turnovers. He has more interceptions this year in half the amount of passes than he had last year. 11 picks. Jeez. Last year had 10 with 596 attempts. So if the Cowboys want to win this week or do anything when it comes to the playoffs, they can't turn the ball over. They know it, but can Dak Prescott stop it?
Well, twofold question. Do you think it's a direct reflection of them letting Amari Cooper go, number one? And number two, is T.Y. Hilton going to be that guy for him going forward?
So here's the weird thing about this offense is since Dak's been back, I think they're number one in the league in scoring points. They're over 30 a game. Last week they scored 34 points. I mean, you should win those games in the NFL if you're scoring that many points. So I don't think I can't say they haven't missed Amari Cooper because he's Amari Cooper and they've not added a replacement for him. But CeeDee Lamb has really delivered as the number one receiver, named to the Pro Bowl this year, has over 1,000 yards, leads the team in catches. He's taken that next step. The Odell dance was fine and funny for a little bit. It kind of got annoying at the end. That's over and done with. But T.Y. Hilton, I expect him to be active this week, and you'll see him probably in a limited role, certain packages, down and distance type things. But he's a guy that's impressed in his 2 weeks that he's been here and how fast he's learned this system.
How go to the other side of the ball here, Todd, and look at the numbers. They're impressive. They're the takeaways. They're right. The Eagles and Cowboys are right there with each other. They will get after the quarterback as well, doing a nice job in terms of points allowed. I mean, you could exclude the pick 6 touchdown, but it was a little bit of a breakdown last week, allowing the Jags to come back. Where are they defensively in your estimation?
Hurting in a lot of ways. They've lost Anthony Brown to an Achilles injury for the season. He caught a lot of grief around here for not being Trayvon Diggs, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to be the guy who takes the ball away. He did give up some plays, but now you're seeing how steady he was. Yeah, he'd give up some stuff, but he wouldn't give up everything, and that's what you kind of saw last week with Kelvin Joseph. This week, I think you'll see a mix of different corners in there as the Cowboys look to solidify that spot opposite Diggs. I mentioned Van Der Esch is out. Jonathan Hankins, a guy they acquired from the Raiders, the run-stuffing defensive tackle, played really well. He's got a pec strain out until the playoffs. That's going to be a factor, especially this week against the Eagles when they want to run the ball. Maybe it's a blessing for the Cowboys that Hurts isn't in there, and so some of the QB runs aren't the same, obviously, but this is a defense that has 1 sack in the last 2 games. They made their bones on getting big leads and affecting the quarterback. The last 2 games, they've had leads, and they've not been able to affect the quarterbacks against lines like Houston and Jacksonville. Never mind lines like they're going to see on Saturday.
Well, looking at how you guys play defense and understanding that in this Eagles team, what are they saying about, Hurts not being in there, and especially the stuff that you heard from Micah Parsons about Hurts? Well, how was that whole, dynamic?
Yeah, I think there were some guys in the room that said, Micah, why'd you go there? I think they understood his larger point about the Eagles have a really good team, right? Mm-hmm. And Jalen certainly benefits from that the same way that Dak had benefited from that early on in his career by having a really good team around him, especially his rookie season. So I don't think Micah expressed himself the right way on the Vaughn cast and how he wasn't trying to take a shot at Jalen, but it certainly seemed that way. But they know Minshew. They saw him last year in the finale of the game. Now that Eagles team, correct me if I'm wrong, the only guy on the line that might have played that day was Kelsey to keep a streak alive.
There wasn't anything to play for. Yeah.
Right. So they didn't play a lot of their guys. And obviously AJ Brown wasn't on that team too. So and Devontae Smith got the rookie receiving record maybe.
And then they got him out of there
got him in and got him out. Yeah.
So they at least have film of him of what in that offense of what he likes. Now the personnel is different, but they'll feel confident going against him. And again, you take away a big element of that offense when it's not the same QB runs. And I don't think you're going to see the 3rd and 1 line up everybody around the quarterback and do the bush push like they did with Jalen all the time.
Nice reference there, USC Notre Dame back in the day. I like that.
I didn't know what else to call it, so that's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Let me ask you, as we know, look, we saw him at Penn State. We know what he's been in his 2 years as a pro. What's it been like covering Micah Parsons? Like we all, that obviously that podcast lit up Philadelphia when he did that with Von Miller, et cetera. But there was a knock coming out on him, that attitude and et cetera. How's he been in terms of like teammate, citizen, all those kind of things?
Yeah, fine. I don't want to say off the charts, because every young guy has stuff that you're like, really, that's what you're going to do? And he's a maturing guy, but I think like the big fears that people might have had about him, none of that has played true. He's been on the field. You can't hope for anything more than what he's done, right? And off the field, I think there was some worry in the offseason between rookie year and year 2 that he might have been doing too much stuff and enjoying the limelight a little bit too much and doing too many events and too many appearances and things. But, it hasn't appeared to have affected his play. What's affected his play here lately, I think, is he's now basically an every down pass rusher or on the ball linebacker, where last year he was more 50-50 where he's off the ball. With Van Der Esch out, maybe they move him off the ball a little bit more, but he's taken a little bit more of a pounding this year by being on the line as much as he has been, because look, he's a dominant pass rusher. I don't know how you move that guy off that position when he has 13 sacks. So he better get used to it, because it's only going to continue for however long he plays.
Right.
I found it kind of weird that they kept Tyler Smith at left tackle, but then put your all everything left tackle. You move him to the right side, Tyron Smith, and you're alternating with Jason Peters. Is this the ending of his career?
No. Well, they moved Tyron to right tackle because they lost Terrence Steele to a knee injury. So Tyron actually volunteered to say, "Look, I'll move to right tackle for this stretch of the season. That's the best thing for the team. Tyler Smith is playing really well. Don't want to mess up the rookie." So they're moving him over there. And last week they alternated with Jason, your guy, because they didn't want Tyron to come in off of not playing at all and play 70 snaps a game. Now, evidently 1 week is going to be good enough, because I think you'll see him I don't think you'll see that rotation with him and Peters this week. But Tyron, he said there's a lot of things that he could do better. And I guess getting reaccustomed to the right tackle spot, hadn't played there since his rookie year. But it is, you look at, there's Zach Martin, there's Tyron Smith, had 16 Pro Bowls on the right side of the Cowboys offensive line. They get some combo blocks with those two guys, and your running game might be able to do some stuff.
Todd, what's your, just looking at from the outside looking in at the Eagles here, what this, obviously the dynamic has changed in a big way without Hurts and being Minshew in there, but overall, what you've seen from the Eagles so far this year?
I mean, it's hard not to be impressed, and they're the best team in football. There's not a stat you can point to and say, well, that's going to get them. I guess run defense can be an issue, right? But
yeah, they tightened it up somewhat, but
and every team has its flaws, right? There's not a perfect team out there, especially this year, and their flaws seem to be more manageable. But everything that they've done for this year and adding the guys that they've added, either in the offseason, AJ Brown, or during the season, Joseph and Sue, have paid off for them. So, but are they unbeatable? I don't think they're unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a team can beat them. And it's fun, you know, the Cowboys get grief for needing the 98-yard drive to beat Houston. Well, 2 weeks earlier, what was the Eagles drive against
the Colts game? They needed a late drive to beat the Colts. Yeah.
So,
yeah,
you know, there's a little bit of a give and take on the outside. So again, they're a really good team, the best team in football, but they're not the 85 Bears where you just knew they were going to win every single game, or even the 07 Patriots where they were just going to out-talent you and win. That's why I think these playoffs are in the NFC for sure are going to be so interesting, because truly anybody can beat anybody. And you know, there might be some people that say San Francisco might be the best team in the NFC right now, and they're on their third quarterback. I wouldn't go there, but there are some that might say that because of how well that defense is playing, what they have as a running game, what they have as the whole unit. Mm-hmm. I'd still say the Eagles are 1, the Niners are 2, and the Cowboys are 3. But any one of those 3 teams can represent the conference in the Super Bowl.
You know, speaking of running games, you know, how was Ezekiel Elliott, you know, kind of modified his game with Tony Pollard being the guy now, being the man. And, you know, people outside of Dallas, we thought that should have happened a year and a half ago, you know, but he's definitely stepped in and been, you know, the Pro Bowl guy now. I mean, has he dethroned Zeke now for good?
Well, there's still Zeke is still the quote starter for whatever that means, and their snaps are closer to 50-50. But Zeke plays an important role in this team because of his short yardage, goal line work. He's still a guy who can get you in the end zone. And he's still a guy, when they get to the tough yards, he's the guy that's going to get him. Now, what Pollard's been able to do is break some stuff and hit the home runs. He has more touchdowns this year than he had in his first 3 seasons. But they have a really good mix going on right now with both of those guys and how they're operating. Pollard's 31 yards away from 1,000. Zeke, if he hadn't missed those 2 games, he'd be on pace for 1,000. This is a team that still needs to be defined by its running game. It's switched a little bit between how they go about it with Pollard and Zeke, but they're not going to become a Pollard-heavy team at the expense of Zeke, and they're not going to become a Zeke-heavy team at the expense of Pollard. They want to get both of those guys as many touches as they can, and you've seen that last week for sure might have been the most they were on the field together. So there are opportunities to get both those guys the ball when they're out there together, and certainly Pollard can do stuff lined up out wide in the slot, things like that, but he's changed the dynamic of the run game, and he makes life a little bit easier for the offensive linemen, because if they get a little crease, he's gone.
Todd, because it's Minshew and not Hurts, has the pressure sort of shifted even more on the Cowboys in this game? I mean, I know the Eagles are in a good position because they can afford. Look, they don't want to lose. They'd rather wrap it up, but they can afford to lose, and they'd still get the number 1 seed in that sense. But even more so because there's a backup quarterback playing for the Birds.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it ultimately puts the Cowboys in a no-win situation, honestly, right? If they win the game, what's everybody going to say? Well, Hurts didn't play. You should have won the game. Right. And if they lose with Minshew as a quarterback, it's like you can't even beat the backup quarterback, same old Cowboys. So that's kind of what they're operating under from the outside narrative. But I think from the inside, there's a healthy respect for that entire team of what they can do, because they've played against Fletcher Cox since the 1980s, right? He's been there that long, I think. I mean, they've gone against.
He played before Barrett played,
right? Yeah. I mean, he was around with the Vermeil era, wasn't he? I mean, he's been there forever.
He was in the '81 championship game.
Yeah, you know, and they know Bradbury and Slay, and certainly McCarthy's got a history with Slay from his time in Detroit and Green Bay and all that stuff. So they know this is still a really good team, whether Hurts is the quarterback or not. I mean, I guess I would say it this way. Are the Eagles still a playoff team if Jalen Hurts doesn't play? Like if he's not their quarterback, I'd make the argument that they're still a playoff team.
It's a great point. It's a
great
point.
Not 13-1.
No, they're like the Giants, Washington, sort of in that mix down there at the bottom.
And maybe even better than those guys because of what else is around them. You know, the Giants don't have any really receivers. Washington's quarterback play, he's done a great. But I think Minshew. If you were starting a team, would you go with Minshew or
we were talking about this earlier, Todd. I'd be curious what your opinion is. If he comes out and has a pretty good game and the Eagles win this thing, he's a free agent. He wants to start. He's made no bones about it. He could get himself a job with a pretty good performance, I think, maybe somewhere next year.
Well, look at Cooper Rush and the Cowboys, right? He went 4-1 this year, and he's a free agent as well. Now, his 4-1 and what Minshew's 4-1 might look a little bit different because Cooper's numbers weren't great. He did an excellent job of minimizing mistakes, except for the Philly game.
right.
and answering when the Cowboys needed an answer. But he did enough to help himself at least have a decade-long career as a backup here in the NFL. So yeah, I mean, if he lights it up, do they keep him in? And the Eagles win, do they keep him in for another week and say, hey, take your time there, Jalen, we're good?
Yeah, it's a great point, because we have this debate all the time about rest versus rust. And if they decided to go the rest of the way in the regular season, it would be 5 weeks between live, bullets here for Jalen Hurts. That's a long time off, man.
That is a long time off, and that the Cowboys have dealt with that before. 07, they had home field advantage. 16, they had home field advantage, where they played or didn't play their guys. And I think you need to play your guys, because that team coming in with the divisional round win has some momentum. And if you have a quarterback that hadn't played in 5 weeks, that's an awful long time. I think that rust builds up.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of quarterback, Dak, and he came out and said something that kind of caught us off guard up on our market, as far as what our media is saying, that in so many words, we're not really worried about what they have going on. We need to take care of ourselves. I mean, how did you guys approach that when you asked them about it?
Well, I think that's kind of the default answer for around here for a lot of years, that it's about them. It's not about the other team. And, I don't think Dak was trying to dismiss the Eagles when he was saying that. I think he was more about, we need to worry about what we're about, not so much what the Eagles are about, because they know, again, they're going to affect the quarterback with all, Reddick and Graham and all these guys that they can bring to the quarterback. He knows the back end is talented as well. But he's going to be confident in his guys that if they get it right, that they're going to win this game. And then, and mostly, at least in the NFC East, Dak's been right. I mean, he's 26-6 in the division. He's not lost a division game since, I think, the Eagles in 2019. So, this is these are the fun games, right? I mean, even if Hurts isn't
what it's all
playing,
about.
These are still the fun games that you're actually looking forward to going to the stadium. Going to the stadium a couple weeks ago when they played the Texans, I was like, gosh, who cares about this one? But I'll get there a little bit earlier on Saturday.
Yeah. If you can't get up for this, man,
this is what it's all about. As a player, man, I live for watching these Dallas games, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I live for playing them, bro. I mean, I'm ready right now. I want to play right now.
Todd, he has been. We've had the comment.
You got any snaps left in you?
Yeah.
No, but I would think I would. I mentally, I'd be out there. I'm all the way with him.
Mind is willing, the body's not. Is that what they say? Something like that. Todd, last one from me. Do we make, on the outside, do we make too much of the sort of Jerry distractions and all that other stuff? We always look at it and we're like, man, he's saying this again and that. Is the team kind of oblivious to that stuff at this point?
Yeah, I believe so. And Dak has made reference to that when we've asked him about the Odell stuff that kept carrying on and carrying on. He's like, well, that's Jerry, right? I mean, I think these guys know how to compartmentalize, and you have to, especially when you play here, especially when it's Jerry, because he's so available and accessible to us and on the local radio twice a week, that he's going to say, and available to us almost after every game, that he's going to say some things that you just have to deal with, and you can't let it affect you. Now, there are times where I know coaches in the past, it was like, why would he do that? All he's doing is bringing more attention. We don't need to have that situation. It just adds more stress, and it's unnecessary. But Jerry's going to market, and Jerry's going to sell. And, he's only now just finally realizing that the Odell thing isn't going to happen. And it probably was never going to happen, because he was not going to be healthy enough to play at the Odell level until maybe an NFC title game or a Super Bowl. So this is a team that hadn't been to an NFC title game since 95. Mm-hmm. So you're putting a lot of hopes and prayers and a dream that he finally moved on from. But I think these guys are pretty well hardened to Jerry's going to Jerry, and you just have to deal with it and not let it affect you.
Love it. Todd, last prediction. What do you think happens tomorrow?
I think the Cowboys win this one, in part because of what I talked about earlier, Dak's success against the NFC East. It is at home. And, this is still meaningful for the Cowboys. They can have their third win against a team with 10-plus wins. We've always talked about them beating teams. Or they never beat the teams that you don't expect them to win. And even if Hurts doesn't play, that doesn't matter. It's still a 13-1 team. But then you'd have the biggest road win at Minnesota, a win earlier this year against Cincinnati. So that would get them back on track to think, okay, they might have something here when the playoffs start. So I think the Cowboys win a close one. I don't know what the line is on that. I'm not good at that
It's
stuff.
moved a ton. It's like 4.5. It's been all over the place from
So
before
let's say
the
it's 4.5.
Cowboys 4.5. Yeah,
Cowboys by 3. So the Eagles cover.
Eagles cover.
Todd, I
Okay.
liked you till you said that, man.
I got them covering. What do you want?
Yeah, you can make some money, Barrett. I mean, come on.
No. I mean, this is Gardner Minshew's playing for a contract, man. He's interviewing in front of 31 other teams. It's going to be a tough one on your Cowboys, man. Tough one.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, though.
It could be high scoring. It could be 37. Let's see, 37-34.
Like it. Todd, we lup your work, man. Keep up the
Appreciate
good
you,
work. And we always appreciate when you hop on with us, man.
Thanks a lot, bro.
For all
Thanks,
the
guys.
information.
Appreciate
All right, you
it.
got it. That is Todd Archer. Todd, you can check him out on Twitter at Todd Archer. He is the ESPN NFL Nation reporter covering the Cowboys, and he's been doing so since 1997. Good dude, man. Todd is a good dude. He's got good information here. I think he's a very level-headed, objective guy. Like, he's not some homer, tooting the Cowboys horn. He does,
Rob,
does a really good job.
I am a homer. We're gonna whoop their ass. Period.
I like it. All right, I like it. Hey, let's do this. We're going to come back, and I want to dig into. I went through some Eagles numbers, which I think you'll enjoy. All right, and just I want to soak it in, Barrett. I want to marinate like Gunnar would with his ribs, and and some of the stuff they puts on on some of these numbers, because I think sometimes we're getting to the point now where we're getting a little spoiled and glossing over them. But the numbers this year for the Eagles, both individually and as a team, are ridiculous. So we're going to dive into that when we get back. A little bit later, we'll go into the Jalen Hurts MVP candidacy and how much missing this game will hurt him, could hurt him in your estimation. We'll have our NFL segment where we're going to look at the power rankings for the NFL and the Week 16 previews. A little later, Barrett, favorite Christmas movies. Okay, we will dive into that as well. We'll do all those kind of things. Don't go anywhere. He's Barrett. I'm Rob. Gunnar off today. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right, I want to tell you about the good folks at Pro Action Restoration. Yeah, my boy Barrett called me up, said, man, I got a property. I need these guys to come take a look. All right, you got it. Boom, it's done. And they're there. Again, if you have a home, you have a business, you have a property, you've gone through some water, fire, smoke, mold damage, whatever the case may be, or if you're not really sure what you're looking at, if you're just moving into a place, give them a call. They're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week, which means if something bad goes down, at an inconvenient time, overnight, weekend, whatever, they're there to help you at any time. They are ready to roll. I've gone through it on a Saturday. They got over to my parents' house and they took care of business, man. They were amazing. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured, and they've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So any of the above, water, fire, smoke, mold damage, anything that you can think of, or if you're not really sure, just give them a call. They can handle it. 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
Post-game show with Seth Joyner.
I knew that they had a running game.
Derek Gunn.
He has put in the effort.
Devin Caney.
Had we not won the Super Bowl, what would we be saying?
And Mike Missinelli.
Well, you know who Philly is.
Post-game, now streaming on the 6ABC family of apps.